Getting married is undeniably an emotional and celebratory affair. And for Amit and Aditya, well, their wedding was an extra special celebration that went viral because they brought a new meaning to a monumental milestone. And for each and every photo from Amit and Aditya's wedding, there's no missing that exact feeling etched across the couple's face. As this beautiful pair shows us that at the end of the big day, we're really all the same. Two people dedicating their love and support for the rest of their lives together. Amit and Aditya, welcome to our show, and thank you so much for sharing your beautiful story with us today.
Thank you, Nisha.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. A lot of people in the South Asian community, or in any community for that matter, think that anything that isn't a traditional wedding is not perfect. But I think the two of you have shown that love is perfect, and that's all that matters at the end of the day. Tell us how you both met.
We both met through a mutual friend. The story, I guess, goes back to social media because we knew of each other on social media, just as people meet these days. But then we were introduced officially in person by a mutual friend of ours who he used to dance with and dances with me currently because we both love to dance. But yeah, we met at a birthday party and hit it off, and ever since then this has been us. Yeah.
And one interesting thing, I wanted to ask you how you ended up sharing your sexual identity with your parents. But before we even started rolling, you both were telling me about your childhood. And I think that's really important to today's story. How was it growing up knowing that you are gay, but not sharing it with anyone?
So growing up, obviously you're a kid, so you have your playtime, your fun time, your friends. But then there's this part of yours where you know that something is different. You're not like rest of them, or you're not by the norms of the society. So I think it's really important for anyone growing up to have a support system. And I don't think we could say we had that growing up because this topic, as in being gay, was very alien to everyone at that point of time. So yes, I would say it was difficult, but as kids we enjoyed our life, I would say that too.
Yeah, I think everyone's journey is different. Mine was very different than Aditya's as well. I also, growing up, hung out with all types of people, dated all types of people, and I think my journey of discovery, of self-discovery, was very different. And you grow up thinking, well, if I'm different, it's just going to be a negative thing. We didn't know how to talk about it because we didn't really know what we were experiencing ourselves.
And when you talk about self-discovery, how do you personally, how did you realize that, you said you felt you were different, but how did you finally realize that, you're gay?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, you want to take that one first?
So my answer might be funny, but I think it's Bollywood. It has to be Bollywood for me. So of course on screen you see the guy and the girl, they're romancing. But there was this part where I used to take out the girl, insert myself in there, and try to picture the whole scenario with respect to what would happen if it was two guys. And I think that was my dreamland basically. It was a good escape for me from the reality. Like those 3 hours in the movie hall, that was my world. And I saw it as I could. So, and obviously, I think that played a major part, but also a certain point in time when all of my friends were attracted to girls and I wasn't. So I went along, but I knew I wasn't. And at that point, I think somewhere in my mind, I knew for sure that I was gay. I am gay. And I think from there, it kind of built on. It was very organic. It wasn't one day I woke up and decided.
It wasn't that aha moment.
Yes,
it's
no,
a process.
Yes, it's a
right?
process. Yes.
Yeah, and I think people forget that it's always a process. Like for anyone, even if you've labeled yourself or decide not to label yourself. And I think human connection, happens every day with all types of people. So I think for me, that's what love has always been about, is that innate human connection.
Right. Oh, that's so beautifully put.
That is actually.
Yeah. How did you tell your parents? You both grew up in different countries, right? You grew up in India, you grew up in the US.
Well, I think one thing is, before you're going to come out to your parents or anyone, you start thinking, how is it going to be? how are you going to do it? Are you, it's almost like proposing. You have all these things you want to say, but you don't really know what's going to come out when you actually say it. I think in my case, I first told my mother, who has always been my best friend, really. So I think it was pretty simple. Like, we just took a walk, and I had told him, this is after we had met, I told him, I think it's going to be today. And I didn't also want to put pressure on myself, because I just said, it's going to happen if it happens.
Whenever it feels like the right time.
But I was like, let's just go for a walk. Let's just talk, And it wasn't about me being gay or liking men, or it was about finding the person that I want to spend the rest of my life with, and he happens to be a man. And then we were sitting there and in silence, and she just, touched my hand like this, and I knew it'd be okay.
Oh, that's really cool.
And that was it.
I was shocked, and I think I was numb. I didn't know how to feel. We went back to his apartment, and of course I cried a lot because I didn't know, and I just kept telling myself, why me? Why God did this to me? What did I do wrong? All kinds of things that any mother would have in their head. Talking to him, asking him if there is anything we can do to change it. Any therapy, any doctors. And he said, no, Mom, this is not something that can be changed. And he said, I've been holding this in me since last 30 years, and I was in a lot of pain. And the reason I didn't tell you because I didn't want to hurt you. And this is not something that he's doing to hurt anyone. So I said, you know what? I'm going to support him. I'm going to stand by him, and I did. And
So I think coming out for me was a little different than for Amit. Obviously, it was a bit easier for me, I think, because Amit was there as a support system. And I would have to give it to my mother-in-law. She has been there for me even before I came out to my parents as a support system and as a guiding figure. And then I called my parents and I told them. They live in India, and I told them on the phone, which is not the ideal thing to do. But I think I was sure because Amit was there in my life. And like he said, it was more than, hey, Mom and Dad, I'm gay. It was more than, hey, Mom and Dad, I found someone. So when I told them, they obviously were a bit shocked. Sad, I would say a little bit. But over the last 1 month when they've been here, my mom had tears leaving and going back to India because she didn't want to leave us and go.
And then when your parents decided to come and visit is when you decided to have a Hindu ceremony at a local temple, which is truly amazing. How did that happen, and was it difficult getting acceptance from the temple in order to proceed?
So, the funny story is a lot of things we do, which you might hear, is we don't really plan for things as much. So we had purchased a house even after we got court married, and we went to a temple one day, and we said, wow, this feels like a really nice place to just have a quiet ceremony when we eventually, can. And we asked them, a few months later, and they were just willing. I mean, there was no struggle there. They didn't refute it. They didn't ask why.
Well, every photo at that wedding, moments of joy, moments of pride, moments of happiness are written all over those amazing pictures, evoking all kinds of emotions. So our viewers would love to know how you broke down barriers and just proved that love is love. You two looked absolutely amazing in your weddings, but it was nowhere as close to the brightness on your faces. The look you had on your faces was one of just pure joy. And I want to know what this wedding really meant to you.
So for us, it was just the people who've made such an impact in our lives. having the opportunity to share that moment and do it in a way that really, I guess, exemplified our soul, our heart, in a very simple, just low key. I guess it's not really that low key now, but at that time,
It's all over the place. I mean, your wedding has gone viral. And
it's crazy because we're like, why? How?
yeah. And I think people were actually waiting for this. A lot of kids out there, a lot of young adults are trying to cope with the idea, are trying to cope with telling their family, coming out. And this was just so beautifully done. It just made it seem like this is okay. And I think it was such a support to some people. And I think that's also why it went viral, because feeling people needed this.
Right.
They needed it.
Right. I would say it was kind of an event which normalized something which people didn't expect that something like that would happen. I mean, of course, there have been many weddings in India which are from the LGBTQ community, but I think our wedding made it look very much like this was just like any other wedding.
Someone asked us what was the biggest, most special moment, and I think for me, it was definitely the fact that we were all sitting in like a U shape, and it was my sisters, obviously our parents, our closest friends.
Yes.
And they all did the puja with us. So they had their own thalis and their own, whatever we were doing, they were doing it with us. So it just felt so great to have them participate.
And that's actually my favorite picture, that what you're talking about with everyone around you, and just the joy of that picture. It's just something else.
Yeah.
Tell us about the moment when the ceremony ended. That few seconds when you know that you've done this, you're married. What were you feeling?
Very official.
Official.
Yeah, because we did the City Hall wedding, but I think this was, for our community at least, and our family, this was now when we were really married. I always thought about getting married growing up. Yeah, I had always wanted to, and it finally happened. And it happened the way I wanted. That feeling, it just takes over you, and at that point, you just feel happiness. There is no other emotion that could cross your mind.
Yeah, it's funny because it's the wedding you wanted, but for me, I've never pictured it, but I felt it, right? So it was never like, this is the wedding I've pictured, but this is the wedding I felt. Right. And so it felt great, and it felt right, and we were just, I think we were relieved too.
Right.
Definitely,
That it
yes.
just, there it is. Now it's out there. It's done. People have been giving us so much love and encouragement that it's like, wow, why didn't we do this sooner? Like why did we think so much? Or why did we think this was going to be something people would look down upon? Or why did we, I don't know. I mean, it's something we could have just easily done.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess throughout the years, I've seen so many types of weddings, like
Exactly.
different religious backgrounds. Even I think years and years ago, if you had a different last name, it was a big deal.
Yes.
So I think people have overcome all of those things.
We're moving along.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So this might be different for people, but it's just one of those things we'll get right through.
Amit and Aditya, marriage equality and assimilation is still underway. How do you feel after being married and going through this whole process? How do you feel people are adjusting and assimilating?
Oh, that's a heavy question. So I think in US, it's the whole scenario is very different from what people go through in India at this point. Of course, in India, it is now legal to be gay and belong to a certain community, LGBTQ. But I don't think the rights of marriage and a civil union are yet given.
In so many countries, it's
Right.
still considered a criminal act.
Right. So I think we feel very lucky that it worked out like it did because I grew up in India.
The number of messages, I mean, I can't even tell you the number of stories that we've seen that we've
Very
just
personal
teared up
stories,
looking at and said, wow, we thought it was hard, and it was pretty easy for us, I would say. I can't imagine what it is to go through this the way other people are going through it.
But what this has done is start that dialogue in houses.
Yes.
Positive, negative, whatever, people are talking about it, and once they talk about it, it goes somewhere. So I think that's been, because the messages we have gotten, folks have reached out to us and said that they actually came out to their friends after they saw our pictures. Someone recently got engaged and sent us their pictures. So this is, it's like the happiness, we're still getting it. The love,
so
it's still going on, and social media has been great. Like, we didn't expect this to happen at all, but now that it's happened, I really see and feel the power of what social media could do in stirring a movement in a positive way.
Right. How do you feel when somebody refers to you as their gay friend, or they'll say, "Oh, so I just attended my first gay wedding"? How does that make you feel?
I think labels are something people just feel the need to have a label.
Do you think we'll be able to kind of wean out of that eventually?
I think so, right? But it's funny because we look at this label as something that might be uncomfortable, but at the same time, if you're able to use the words, that's also a great step, right? Because sometimes people don't even want to say the word gay.
That's
or
right. That's what
straight
you were
or
saying
whatever,
earlier too.
It's okay. We are your gay friend or whoever. That's fine. That's okay. We're okay being that.
Right.
But you know what happens when people start labeling is they think that that's the only thing that they're about, right? So
Right.
we're not. Our life is much more than being a gay couple or being gay, right?
Yeah, we still have to do dishes, we do laundry, we clean the house, we do everything.
Some people.
And that's what I was going to ask you. So we've seen all these glamorous pictures of your wedding. Now you're not posing for pictures every day. Tell us about what life is like outside of this glamorous wedding that you had.
I think it's 3 words: PJs and Netflix, and this couch, pretty much. Yeah. So we don't like to go out much. I mean, we used to, and now it's we just find very good company. Our dog, him and I, on the couch watching Netflix or some series, and I think we are very happy like that. So I think in everyday life, work, his work, my work.
Do you guys cook?
He cooks. I eat, and I do a very good job of that. But yeah, he's a very good cook actually. And some of the dishes I've never tried, I have tried because he's pushed me to, and I love that. Yeah.
And I think, Nisha, just like every marriage or any new partnership, it's like we're going through the same things, right? Like he doesn't like when I brush my teeth outside of the bathroom, or I don't like when he doesn't put his clothes away. So these are all the things
It's an adjustment.
which is just like anybody else.
Right. Where do you see your future? What's in store for Amit and Aditya in the next 5 years, let's say?
She actually said the name of our.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes. So you should.
Yeah. So we're both into fashion design and just love all things like beautiful, I guess. So now we want to make those things, and we're launching our own clothing line, which hopefully will launch by the end of this year.
Yes.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Amit
you.
and Aditya. It was a pleasure talking to you, and thank you for sharing your story, because I think it's going to be a great support to a lot of our viewers out there.
Thank you so much, Nisha.
And congratulations to you
Thank
both
you.
once again.
Stand by your kids. Support them, listen to them. Stand by your kids. That's all I would say.